Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an AD or I have a direct connection to. You should be using them too. So take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go visit these sponsors. I tell you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to work for all of our coaches and teams, and Huddle came through like a champ. Our coaches, our kids, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let our programs experience the very best in athletics. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Let their team help you create world-class marketing content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We'd like to say thanks to the Ohio University Online Master of Science in Athletic Administration. This affordable 20-month online program focuses exclusively on interscholastic athletics. And when you finish, you'll have your master's degree, but you'll also have 11 NIAAA leadership training courses that can go toward your RAA or CAA. You're also going to be part of a tremendous network of connections in high school athletics across the country. To get started, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Communicating with your coaches, your kids, your parents, uploading digital forms, you name it. Home Campus is going to do it better. It's going to do it faster. It's going to give you a lot more time. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We'd like to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Hometown Ticketing is digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, more customization. Go to hometownticketing.com to find out all the things they can do for you. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all of your teams, for all the events, or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and explore their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to tell your school's unique story and celebrate your finest moments. That's athleticsurveys.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. athleticsurveys.com. We'd also like to say thank you to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and got little, if any, return? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. We'd also like to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of parents, student athletes, or coaches, you're really missing out. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you. It's going to connect you to people you probably already hear from, the complainers, the gripers, but that's only a small percentage. Athletic Surveys is also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking to a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Texas today, and our guest is Dena Scott. Dena is a certified master athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics for the Fort Bend Independent School District, Fort Bend ISD, which is sort of kind of outside Houston. Dena, we were chatting before we recorded, but we're excited to have you. Welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I know, like we talked, this is my first official podcast. I'm so excited to be you're my first one. So I'm looking forward to it and hope we have looking forward to a great time today.
Oh, I know it's going to be great. I can already tell. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Dena Scott origin story?
Well, so fun fact, I'm actually from Fort Bend ISD. I was born and raised in the district that I work in now currently. Loved it so much. I was only away for a few years for college and a little time with my husband in the military, but came back as soon as I could. But growing up here, played a lot of sports. Went to Dulles High School. Played basketball, volleyball. Didn't have softball at the time, but I had played that sport as well. Just really grew up around sports. My dad was a very big part of my life, obviously with my mom as well. They were both sports fanatics. I remember being propped up at a young age on a pillow watching football with my dad. So it just was a part of me, and I loved it. Every time I was doing something sports or athletic related, that was just my element. I was one of those kids that went to school for the sports. But I was a good student, A's and B's. And so when I graduated from Dulles, I was offered an opportunity to play at Syracuse University on a full volleyball scholarship. So yeah, I went from, Texas to New York back many years ago. Was a great experience. Stayed there for about 2 years until my coach left in the middle of my sophomore year. And you know how things go when new coaches come in and things like that happen. And so ended up coming back to Texas A&M. I had an opportunity to play there, but just decided to go and just be a full-time student and, become an educator. And so, uh, that's how I got into where I'm at as a teacher and educator. And I'm sure we'll delve into that a little more too.
Yeah. Again, I always love to hear the stories. I want to go back to those high school days. Was it a big school, a small school? What was that setting for you back then?
Sure. So we had about 300 or 400 in my graduating class. So it was big back then. We only probably had about 5 high schools as opposed to 12 high schools that we have now in Fort Bend ISD. So again, big rivalries between our crosstown Clements Rangers and Willow Ridge and Kempner. And I remember those days vividly, and it's very ironic that just right on the other side of this wall where my office was the gym that I played in as well. And so, I mean, it's just very real nostalgic for me to be able to now help, coaches and kids, in their athletic path going through. And it's very rewarding for me to get to see that.
Now, I got to ask the question, as you're walking through the building, I guess two questions. Do you still hear those echoes of back in the day? And for the current generation of student athletes that you work with, do they know that Dena Scott had a game back then?
Well, so more fun facts that come out about me since I love Fort Bend. Before I became an assistant athletic director, I was a head volleyball coach at my alma mater, and so of course my athletes knew every day that I put on that same uniform. I had that same pride in our Dulles Vikings, and it's like I said, it's not like nothing else you can compare it to be able to coach kids that are coming through a program that meant so much to you. And it just gives me chills even to think about it, because having that opportunity to go back to my alma mater and teach and coach the sport that provided me so many opportunities and opened doors for me that would have never been open. I would have never seen New York. I would have never gone off to college. Who knows where I would be now without that sport. And great coaches as well. And so I just wanted to come back and give back. So I do know that I try to share that story every once in a while with the kids. And now it's not just Dulles, it's all 12 high schools that I get to be a part of and get to share that experience with. And being in the district as an assistant athletic director and a head athletic director is just so fun.
Now, I will always ask this question in this situation. When I graduated from college, I went back and I didn't work at my high school, but that first year, I was a substitute teacher. And my best friend from high school also became a teacher. And one day we were there together, substitute teaching. And we walk in the teacher's lounge, which was a thing back then. And here are all of our old teachers, all of our old coaches, and they look at us and they go, "You guys became teachers?" Uh, how was that for you coming back to your school, where obviously you probably still had some people like that?
Oh, absolutely. So my varsity coach actually became my JV coach when I was the varsity coach here. So she was on staff with me for 1 year. She said she would wait until I was able to come back and we could coach together, because she had coached me those many years ago. And so she was elated, ecstatic. We had a great relationship when she was coaching me. And so to come back and have her on the bench being my mentor, not only showing me the ropes and the procedures and policies that go behind coaching, right, but also there as my number one fan. And I knew she wanted me to succeed. And so we have pictures of me and her when we were at all-star games and she was my coach, and then now I was the head coach sitting on the bench with her. It's just surreal at times.
Oh, yeah, I just love those histories and the connections of the previous years to what's going on currently. It's so very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
For our listeners, our guest today is Dena Scott. She's a certified master athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics for the Fort Bend ISD. That's in Fort Bend, Texas. Let's go and take our first break, but we're going to come back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to work for all of our teams, and Huddle came through like a champ. Our coaches, our kids, even our parents just loved all the tools that Huddle provided that let our programs experience success at the highest level. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com, start creating world-class content for your social media channel. It'll help you promote your teams and celebrate your athletes. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college athletic programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. How simple is it? Well, it's so simple, even I can use it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We'd also like to say thank you to Ohio University's online Master of Science program. This affordable 20-month online master's program focuses exclusively on interscholastic athletic administration. And when you finish, you'll not only have your master's degree, you're going to have 11 NIAAA leadership training courses that can go towards your RAA and CAA. You're also going to be part of a tremendous graduate network with connections in K-12 athletics across the country. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Masters in Athletic Administration. Check it out.
All right. Hey Jake, we use Huddle and we just love it. It's great for, like you said, our football coaches, but all of our coaches as well. And it provides us a great platform to share that with our students and our parents and our community, as well as for coaches to use as a statting program.
Yeah, I just was really, I don't want to say I was surprised, but I was just so pleased when our other coaches, our volleyball coach, basketball, all of our coaches, they just, raved about what the Huddle platform did. Do you guys use the streaming function as well for games?
No, not at this time, but we are looking into adding some new things each year. It just depends on how we can do and affordability as well.
No, hey, believe me, I know what you mean. Okay. And I think you mentioned that you might use
Yeah,
Gipper too.
we love Gipper. It has been a game changer in our department. We have an assistant athletic director, Deborah Mize, who is on it with social media, and she came to me and said, you know, this is a great platform. It's very cost effective and easy to use, and you will see on our Twitter feed a lot of Gipper enhanced media. So again, I recommend them as well.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Sure.
What's your Twitter handle so our listeners can go check out some of your posts?
Sure, it's at FBISD Athletics.
Okay. And we'll probably give that out at the end of the
Sure.
show too. For our listeners, our guest today is Dena Scott. She's a certified master athletic administrator and she's the AD for the Fort Bend ISD in Texas. Dena, you alluded a little bit, to your pre-AD career, teaching and coaching. Let's go and take a deeper dive into that. Talk about, how that developed and then also share if you can what made you decide to, as I like to say, come to the other side of the desk as an athletic director?
Yeah, sure. So, I have always been one of those organized type administrative type personalities. And so it wasn't a hard it was always in the back of my mind that I was thinking about, athletic administration and what it would look like. And honestly, I drive by this office a lot and talk to athletic administrators, to see what it was like and to get an idea about it. And it didn't really sink in until I was able to actually do an internship here in the athletic office many, many years ago while I was getting my master's. And so I was given opportunities to see what it would look like exactly to be an athletic administrator. And I think it's a great opportunity for others that are looking to become athletic administrators, because sometimes we think it's just the glorious sitting there and watching all these games, and the behind the scenes is a lot different when you get up close to it and make sure that it's something that you really want to do and you have a passion for. And so when the opportunity afforded itself, I went for it and was blessed to be hired by Philip O'Neill, one of my great mentors. Hired me as the first female assistant athletic director here in Fort Bend ISD. And it was a big change from, where I was at my campus, just focused on Dulles. And like I said, my sport, to being open to, at that time, 11 high schools and 12 middle schools, and having to work, more broadly. And so was an awesome opportunity for me at that time. Probably was given it a little bit sooner than I needed it, but that's in God's plans and not mine. So I was happy to step in and have loved it ever since.
Well, you opened the door for my next question. We use an expression with coaches and maybe even with ADs that you don't know what you don't know. Coming in as the AD that very first year, what was something that maybe surprised you, both that maybe in a good way, hey, I got this, and maybe something that, wow, I have to do this too.
Sure. So one of the first things that I was in charge with was paying officials, and the behind the scenes, like I said, those types of things where you're thinking, oh well, I want to get with coaches, I want to meet with coaches, I want to develop leadership plans, I want to do professional development, all this type of stuff, and they're like, no, you have to pay the bills. And so I soon learned that if I was going to open my time to other things, I was going to have to be able to streamline some things that were in the office that were just they were going fine, but they were taking up a lot of my time where I couldn't do the things that I really wanted to do. And so I put my mind and my thoughts to streamline some processes so that I could go to my boss, Coach O'Neill, and say, "Hey, I think I've got an idea that could help me, fix this part, but still give me an opportunity to work with the coaches and do the bigger ideas that I wanted to work with him on."
Now, you've been an athletic director for, we'll just say, a few years. Okay.
Mhm.
How have you seen the job change from when you first came on, even as a coach, to now in 2024? Other than obviously technology, Huddle and Gipper and those things, but
Sure.
what are some things that you've noticed from your position of the job changing?
Well, so I was an assistant athletic director for 8 years, and I've been the director here for 4 years. And the main thing that I've seen is just post COVID, just a lot of, more parental involvement. The coaches are stressed. In Texas, in order to coach, you have to teach as well, and so there's a lot more demands, on the teaching side, which is fine. That's what, that's the 100% of 90% of their job, right? Is to teach, and then the other part is the coaching. But um, coaches are in a spot where they're the second parent, or they're the confidant, or they're the one that's seeing those kids every day, where maybe they go home to something that's completely different, and it's not your traditional household. And so coaches are being torn and pulled in so many different directions. And so mental health has been something that we stress, and we work with our coaches to provide them opportunities to vent and to stress, to get that out, because they have to be able to take care of themselves in order to be able to take care of their teams and their students. So again, a lot has changed, but I think just more focus on public education and legislature as well, maybe.
Now, oh, don't get me started on that. Our Florida
Yeah.
legislature, we have some interesting things down here in Florida. Um, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and, add you to their network, or simply pick your brain a little bit about how
Sure.
you do things, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Well, they can email me, or I can give you my contact information, cell phone. I don't know if you want to drop it in the chat, or if you need me to give it to you
We'll,
now,
we'll,
I can.
we'll put that information in the show
Sure.
notes, but if you can just give out your email,
Sure.
that would be great.
Perfect. It's Dena, Dena Scott, and this is all one word, no spaces, Fort Bend ISD. So FortBendISD.com.
And we'll do that again at the end of the podcast,
Sure.
and we'll also put it in the show notes. Let's go and take another quick break. Again, our guest is Dena Scott from the Fort Bend ISD in Texas. We're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards for their support of the podcast. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Their products not only generate income for your athletic department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more, but I'm going to. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for athletic events, but things like school plays, concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school is assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We'd also like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. check out their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to tell your school's unique story and highlight your proudest moments and your best and brightest. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Dena Scott. She's the Director of Athletics for the Fort Bend ISD in Texas. Dena, you are a certified master athletic administrator. That doesn't happen by accident. We have a lot of young or newer ADs that listen, and I think it's important for them to hear about the journey that we take with our state association and with the NIAAA. So can you kind of share how you got started on your journey and how it's gone so far?
Absolutely. So, like I said, with my mentor who hired me, Philip O'Neill, immediately recommended the Texas High School Athletic Directors Association and the NIAAA, and allowed me to go to the conferences every year and provided some financial support with that. I can't speak enough about the NIAAA and the Texas High School Athletic Directors Conference, and just being a part of those organizations. They are what made me who I am today. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but there's just such an opportunity when you go to those conferences and you meet people from, whether it be across the country or all across the state. And then it's what you have to do. It's truly, you get out of it what you put into it. And so I went to both places and said, hey, utilize me however you see fit. And so I've been on the publications committee for the Athletic Directors Association for my state. And so we publish articles, several times a year, and we have a great newsletter. And I encourage everyone to check it out because it talks about things that are not only Texas related, but just things that are going on across the country and across the world. And so, and then with the NIAAA, the first time I went, I ran into some great people, Brenda Marshall, Sherry Stice, Sandra Mader, Sandra Howe. Sandra Howe was actually one of my club volleyball coach in high school. And so connections there, it's just unbelievable, the people that you meet. And then, again, I just pushed myself. I kept pushing myself in front of people, and I'm able to be on the awards committee, and I'm so honored to do that. It's an awesome opportunity to get to bring each year the awards, the people that have won the awards, and to just read about them and to talk to them and to share with them, with their families, the accomplishments and the things that they've done in their careers, and just that week, that few days that we're with them, to just celebrate them for what they've done and given to the, athletic, educational based athletics. And then with Mike Elson and Daryl Nance, and just all those people that, you hear about and you see, and you know them and you get to know them. And then the LTI faculty, I was able to create a course with Aaron Watson and his team. And so now we're teaching there when I go. And so it's just amazing. I can't thank them enough for, I can pick up the phone, I can email, I can text, and these people will respond. They've probably already gone through a situation if I haven't, and provide just the mentorship and the guidance. So I could talk about it forever. So sorry, you'll have to stop me.
No, that's exactly what we want to hear. And the people that you mentioned, well, Sherry Stice, I was on Sherry's certification committee for like 9 years at the national level, taught with Sandra Mader. Sandra Howell was also on the certification committee, and Mike Elson and Daryl Nance and all those names. I don't know how
Yep.
our paths, how we have never
I
crossed
know, I
though, but
know. Yeah,
let's definitely make plans to connect in
sure.
Austin this year.
And you
Okay.
guys get to come to our state so we can show you. I mean, I don't know when the last time it's been in Texas, because I've been to every one since I started back 12 years ago. So I'm really
Um,
excited for people to come to Texas and enjoy Austin. It's a great city.
I know it's in San Antonio a couple of times,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, definitely. So we'll talk about that later. Um, Real quickly, your CMAA project.
Sure.
Oftentimes ADs are nervous or apprehensive about choosing a project and the execution of it. I can address that from certification, but what was your experience? What did you do and how did you present it?
Well, so again, everything in my life has been blessed and happened for a reason. And looking back on it, I had gotten my CAA, and I was thinking about, I had those same, anxiety of doing a project and what the project was going to be, and COVID happened. And I had to work with the fine arts director and the CTE director, and we made a 50-page document of how we were going to have tryouts and rehearsals and competitions and for each of the sports and for each of the fine arts and for all the CTE. And so once and of course during that, there was no way I was thinking this was going to be a project of mine. But ultimately, after I put or the group of us put our parts together, I did talk with Sherry Stice, who is here in Texas and a great mentor and a friend of mine. And I said, what do you think? And she said, well, I mean, it sounds good to me. You worked on it. You guys, your blood, sweat, and tears went into it, and you actually implemented it. So that's another good sign. And so I would say to anybody out there that's thinking about it, I'd be happy to talk them through it. I've worked with other athletic administrators who are working on their projects and kind of got them over the hump and got them to the finish line. And so I'd be happy to help out as well. But I just say do it, and a project will come up. You won't even be thinking about it, and something will pop in, and that's your project.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that. And I always tell people that you are already doing something at your school that would make a great CMAA project. It might be with kids or coaches or parents or facilities, but don't try to, invent this, wild thing, because what you're doing right now, there's something in there that would be a great CMAA project. And reach out. Every state has at least one, some have two certification coordinators. Reach out to them first. Then, reach out to Dena, reach out to me. I still help people with their projects. We would love to see you get your CMAA going. Okay. We're going to take another quick break, but we are going to come back. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then got little, if any, return on your investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. You're going to be very glad you did. Welcome back once again to the Educational AD Podcast. Dena, one of the things that we try to do with our podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that you do at Fort Bend with your schools? Maybe these are initiatives that you created, or maybe it's something that was a longstanding tradition that you've nurtured and helped improve. But do you have any best practices you can share?
Well, thank you so much for asking and giving me an opportunity. So, when I was in the assistant AD chair across the hall, I was thinking of ways where, our department is kind of small. And so it was going to be something that would help our department, but also help future aspiring athletic administrators. And so I came up with the idea of doing an aspiring athletic administrators cohort. Now, this was prior to COVID. And so what I started out with was, having a guest speaker, which was either an assistant AD or an athletic director in the region, because I wanted to provide, them opportunities to get in front of our people, to get in front of other ADs in the area, but also they would come and talk about one aspect of their job that maybe, like what we talked about earlier, what you didn't know when you're getting into it, so that they could share, it's not all about just going to games and hanging out and, those types of things. And so the other part of that was we gave them opportunities to work with us in our department, to come and shadow us at games, to come and work with us on projects. And so again, it was a win-win for what I thought our department was. So we would give us extra people in our department to help us with things, but also give them resume building type experience, so that when they did go on to be athletic administrators or apply for those jobs, they would be able to say, I shadowed, or I did a stadium supervision, or I did a field house supervision, or I worked cheer tryouts, or I worked on this Title IX assessment with the athletic director's office. So created that about, like I said, prior to COVID. Then in COVID, I was, became the athletic director. And so I handed that off to one of my assistant athletic directors. And then we created a head coaches cohort because we knew that we needed to, work with, sub-varsity coaches and younger coaches to get them to where if they wanted to be head coaches, because we were seeing that our profession was kind of, dwindling, and we needed to replenish. And so we have that. And again, we bring in speakers. We do HR, superintendents. I mean, my assistant, Shannon Rideout, and Deborah Mize, who handle these, do a great job of getting people to come in, but then also give them opportunities of read their resumes and share, opportunities to help them with interviewing. And so those two things have been really great. And we've actually had people from across the state of Texas that when we Zoom, we do some of these by Zoom, and then we do some of them, in person. And so we share that Zoom link, and we have aspiring athletic administrators and aspiring head coaches from all over that Zoom in with us. And we don't just keep it into Fort Bend because we want to help as many people as we possibly can. And so I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud that my team has, taken the vision as well and ran with it. And, we still are doing that 2 to 3 times a semester to provide that opportunity for growth to our coaches.
Now, developing leadership from within, I think is one of the most overlooked opportunities that, let's say head coaches within their staff or athletic directors within their department experience. How have let's talk about your ADs, how has that aspiring AD cohort grown since the first idea to fruition?
Well, we keep getting more and more individuals that join every year, but I've also been able to hire 2 people out of that cohort. One is my assistant AD and one is my athletic coordinator, because I was able to see how they worked in that environment, put them in situations where they shadowed me or they shadowed somebody in the office or they worked on a project, and I could see that their, follow through or their leadership skills, or, it was almost like they were interviewing. And everybody talks about, you're interviewing every day. And it's so true, but like I said, we've hired 2 out of there, and there's more. There's so many more that, because you're seeing. And then when other ADs call me and they say, I have an opening in my my department, do you have anybody? And I'm like, oh, absolutely. And so, ADs talk, that we share a lot of things. It's a family, it's a close-knit type thing. And so we're always wanting to help our fellow athletic directors as well. So anytime that we can send them a good head coach or send them a good athletic administrator, because if there's nothing available in our department, that's what we don't want to keep them just for ourselves. We want to make sure that they're able to be where they want to be, because all of us have been in that situation, myself included. I've always wanted to be that athletic director. I was always, trying to break that glass ceiling. And then finally, when you finally do, you have to realize there's others that are coming behind you. And so you have to work on providing others opportunities to come behind you as well.
No question. And, you talk to the point of developing your own, letting them grow. And if they have to end up leaving you and become an AD somewhere else, hey, that's your job to develop that person. However, you also talked about the benefit of, taking things off of your plate that now,
Absolutely.
this new person can do. So it's a win-win-win, I think, for athletic directors. Dena, this has been so cool. I'm so glad we had a chance to connect. I'm looking forward to, again, we talked about connecting some more, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break here from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored the toolbox segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's take that final break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Dena Scott puts in her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of the podcast. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents, your student athletes, your coaches, you're really missing out. Athletic Surveys is about connections. It's going to connect you to people you'll probably already hear from, the complainers, the ones that want to gripe about everything. But that's really only a small percentage of everybody in your program. Athletic Surveys is also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And that information is tremendously valuable when you're speaking with a frustrated parent or a student athlete, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that's going to help you take your athletic program from good to great. Athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Dena Scott, a certified master athletic administrator and the director of athletics for the Fort Bend ISD in Texas. Has a tremendous athletic background, but right now I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new athletic director. So, Dena, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
All right, so thanks for the challenge. So the first one would be to find a good mentor, somebody to talk to, whether that would be a fellow athletic administrator, a former coach. I know a lot of people have a lot of great mentors, but this job can be kind of lonely at the top sometimes. And there's some things that you can share with your team, and then there's some things that you can't. And I just want to really suggest get a mentor and somebody that can keep you going and keep that positive vibe going for when the ups and the downs of the job take you in all different directions. Um, Surround yourself with good people. If you're able to hire your staff, great. If you're not, work with them, find the strengths. That is something that over the past few years as the athletic director here, I've been able to do, I think, is to find what my teammates do well, and then let them go. Give them a project that really highlights those strengths, because I find that they just love doing things that they're really good at. And then sometimes give them some things that they can challenge them a little bit, because that's what the job is, right? But surround yourself with good people and get to know their strengths, and then put those strengths to work for you and for your team. And then be a lifelong learner. This job throws many different curveballs at you, and just as soon as you think, oh, I've got it, something else comes around. And so continue to be that lifelong learner, that you got to be able to prioritize and manage your time. And so what I've learned more about myself is, I had the organization, but the prioritizing needed a little bit of work. And so I think I've gotten into that, because I'll just go off onto, sometimes it's like a squirrel, and I'll be like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that, and this is a great idea, and my team brings great ideas to me. But we have to be able to prioritize and manage those with the amount of the people that we have in here. And then finally, a book, something to put in the toolkit, is What Made Maddie Run. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that book, but it's about a student athlete who we thought had no problems, was perfect, and then ended up committing suicide at the University of Penn as a runner. And so things that I read in that book and learned from that is that everybody's going through something at some point, and on the out, that might look like everything's great, but on the inside, we don't know people's stories. And so again, it's just a great read, and I recommend every coach, because who knows, there could be a Maddie out there that needs some attention. And so those are my tools. How'd I do?
Well, you had all great tools, and I always let people know when they do this. We've had over 500 athletic directors participate in the Toolbox series. We've had over 2,000 total tool recommendations. Some have been repeated, of course, but you're the first person to ever mention what made Maddie run. And you're right, it's a great book. It's a tough book to read, but great story and something that all ADs, all coaches need to add to their library. So thanks so much for sharing that and the rest of your tools as well. Love the lifelong learner stuff. I'm not surprised at all when you shared that. Um, Dena, again, this has just been so cool spending some time with you, adding you to my network. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So they can send me an email, Dena, Dena Scott, Scott, at fortbendisd.com. And I'll be happy to help. That's what I enjoy doing, because there was a lot of people that came before me that helped me in this and continue to help me to be better every day. So, and again, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was very calming for my first time, and very enjoyable. And I'm glad to get to know you as well.
Well, I think we're going to have you back, down the road. It's great to talk to you. All the best with the spring sports as
Thank
we,
you.
get ready to hopefully wrap up this school year. And like I said, we're definitely going to connect in Austin. For
Absolutely.
For our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in, and we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Come back next time. We do this just about every day with best practices. We'll look forward to seeing you on the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks again.